Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Wendy Tynan, Director of Stakeholder Relations and Communications for the Green Line LRT project. And on behalf of our entire Green Line team, we are so pleased to have you all here to join us at today's announcement. As we gather today, and in the spirit of respect and truth, we honor and acknowledge the traditional Treaty 7 territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy. We acknowledge the members of the Métis community, and specifically the Métis Nation Region 3. In the spirit of reconciliation, and because we are all treaty people, we also acknowledge all Calgarians who make their homes in the traditional Treaty 7 territory of Southern Alberta. We would like to thank and welcome the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, His Worship Mayor Nenshi, members of Calgary City Council, Don Fairburn, Executive Chair of the Green Line Board, and guests for being here. I would now like to introduce one of the fiercest proponents and champions of the Green Line LRT to lead today's program, Councilor Shane Keating.
Well, I did not think that I would be part of a Green Line announcement before the next municipal election. However, here we are. So as the song states, I did it my way. So I apologize, Prime Minister, Your Worship. Sit back if you had a chair, relax, because this may take a while. I'm going to read a few chapters from a book that a few council members wrote called The Evolution of the Green Line.
Nice, very nice.
He's not kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. Chapter 1, Change of Direction. Once upon a time in a land not far from here, or actually it is here, in the Kingdom of Calgary, long, long ago in the year of 2010, 3 very green new councillors held a press conference where Keating, Carraw and Demong stated were opposed to the status quo of receiving grants from other orders of government and spending them on many smaller projects rather than developing a fund for large projects like the next LRT. This led to a successful notice of motion I put forward that defeated administration's recommendations, setting a new direction. The City of Calgary realized that there was a new transit sheriff in town. 11 years ago, my hair was much darker, my midsection was much smaller, and the Green Line was a mere twinkle in my eye. From this new direction, a very humble beginning was conceived, and $12 million was set aside to complete a functional study of the Southeast Light Rail Transit Line and develop a transit-oriented development strategy. For now, your first intermission, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada.
Bonjour à tous. Merci d'être des nôtres. It's great to be back in Calgary, especially alongside Mayor Nenshi. My friend, it's always so good to see you. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished over the past decade. The past years have been good to work with you, and it's always a pleasure to continue to do good things for the people of Calgary and Alberta by your side. Big shout out to you as well, Shane. Thank you for all your leadership on this. We avoided it very carefully, but I almost wore the same outfit as you today, so we're glad we didn't hit that. But you have worked for years to make the Calgary LRT Green Line a reality. Thank you for being such a leader every step of the way alongside many others. Si vous avez déjà passé un peu de temps à Calgary, vous savez à quel point le transport collectif est important. C'est une ville en pleine croissance et elle a besoin d'infrastructures qui répondent à la demande. C'est exactement pour cela qu'on est ici aujourd'hui. If you live in the south of the city, you know all too well that getting downtown can be a real problem. So today, I've got some good news to share. This fall, construction on Phase 1 of the LRT Green Line will begin in Calgary's Beltline and downtown. We're also looking forward to working with the province and the city on Phase 2, which would see the line extended to the north to reach people in this part of Calgary as well. So what does that mean for you But to begin, it means a faster, cheaper commute. No one wants to waste time and money idling in traffic. This will help you get you home to the kids sooner instead of stuck in traffic. Of course, investing in a major project like this also means investing in workers to plan, build, and then operate the line. During construction and design, we're creating 20,000 well-paying middle-class jobs. And once it's done, the Green Line will mean another 400 long-term positions for people in operations and maintenance. Un transport collectif plus efficace et la création de nouveaux emplois. C'est ça dont il est question avec l'annonce aujourd'hui. Et évidemment, les projets de transport en commun comme la ligne verte de Calgary ne sont pas seulement bons pour les gens et pour l'économie, les projets d'infrastructure verts sont aussi bons pour l'environnement. Stage 1 of the Green Line will cut pollution by tens of thousands of tons each year. That translates into cleaner air for the city. Some politicians continue to say that we have to choose between jobs and the environment. But a healthy environment and a strong economy really do go hand in hand. Of course, the over $1.5 billion we've invested in the Green Line is just one way we're fighting climate change, creating middle-class jobs, and supporting families here in Alberta. I think of the millions of dollars we've invested in the Calgary Airport Trail project. When I landed yesterday, I saw the great work happening. And as Mayor Nenshi told me, the airport trail is close to opening. That'll mean easy access for things like trucks and a boost to the local economy. Or take the announcement Minister Huson made just here in Calgary yesterday. We're investing in the Canada-Alberta Housing Benefit. This will help tens of thousands of low-income families make rent because everyone deserves a roof over their head. Pour les petites entreprises, that's a good effort, yeah. Pour les petites entreprises et les travailleurs de l'Alberta, on investit aussi. Tout comme on a soutenu les gens tout au long de cette pandémie, on va être là avec le soutien dont vous avez besoin pour vous relever après cette pandémie. À ce sujet, je vous rappelle que c'est aujourd'hui le premier jour pour présenter une demande dans le cadre du nouveau programme d'embauche pour la relance économique du Canada. C'est un programme spécialement conçu pour aider les entreprises durement touchées à embaucher les travailleurs dont elles ont besoin pour se rétablir et créer les bons emplois dont les Canadiens ont besoin pour prospérer. Si vous êtes un employeur, allez sur canada.ca pour voir comment vous pouvez être admissible. As a reminder, today is the first day to apply for the new Canada Recovery Hiring Program. To employers here in Alberta and across the country, check it out at canada.ca. As we move forward with the wage subsidy wind down, we actually created an incentive for small businesses to be able to hire on even more workers and make sure that our relaunching of the economy goes as quickly and as well as possible for everyone here in Alberta and right across the country. It's designed to help you and your team succeed. My friends, it all comes down to this. Whether you're a business owner, a commuter, a worker, or a parent, we've got your back. I know the last year and a half has been tough. And last week alone, Calgary faced a heat wave, flash floods, and a hailstorm. We're here for you. We made billions in major investments that are getting results for Albertans. We've supported everything from classrooms to essential workers to healthcare. And of course, vaccines are rolling out too. Over 78% of eligible Canadians have had a first dose, and over 42% have gotten a second dose. Add to that the fact that millions of vaccines are arriving this month, and there's lots of reasons to be very hopeful. We will beat this pandemic. We will put this crisis behind us, and with exciting projects like the Green Line, better days are definitely ahead. Merci tout le monde. Encore une fois, je suis très heureux d'être de retour à Calgary. Merci.
Chapter 2, creating opportunities and capitalizing on them. For 3 years until 2013, I worked by inserting the Southeast LRT into every report, every paragraph, every sentence, and every thought, which brought us to the 2013 election and a $52 million question, the tax room, between the province of Alberta and the city of Calgary. The survey says that 83% of the respondents said keep the tax room and dedicate it to the Green Line, or at that time was the Southeast Transitway. If in November of 13 had my notice of motion for the development of a $520 million fund failed, the new Southeast and North Central Transitway would not have come, and we would not be here today for something that is now developed into the Green Line. It is unfortunate that the Premier, Jason Kennedy, is not here. A press release today from the Government of Alberta states Alberta's $1.5 billion commitment toward the Green Line is a massive investment in the future of Calgary, and we are happy to make, because we believe that the best days are ahead of us. I also believe that the technical people have talked to the technical people and found out that there are no technical issues. This allowed the city to expand the $52 million to $1.5 billion, and then the province and Alberta matched with $1.5 billion funding for Phase 1. Thank you, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, for your successful election and confirming that the federal government commitment for funding, that without that funding, all other funding would have not held the test of time. Thank you, Mayor Nenshi, for your 11 years of leadership, guidance, and support of the Green Line, both behind the scenes as well as in public. As for myself, the self-proclaimed godfather of the Green Line, the $52 million offer was something that no one could not agree with. The best decision I had ever made. And now time for your second intermission. Introducing His Worship, the Mayor of Calgary, Naheed Nenshi.
Well, thank you, Shane. And I think that all of us, knowing that Shane, of course, was an educator before he came into politics, are now wishing that we had story time with Mr. Keating when we were in elementary school. Monsieur le Premier Ministre, merci. Merci d'être ici avec nous aujourd'hui. Je suis vraiment touché d'être ici avec vous une fois encore, peut-être la dernière fois, pour partager ces nouvelles si importantes. I had thought that today would be my second last announcement on the Green Line prior to hanging up my spurs in this job, though I have understood moments ago that the province of Alberta has made an announcement. I was a bit surprised, but that means this is probably my last announcement on the Green Line, because that is the piece of the puzzle for which we have been waiting. So there are, in fact, incredibly big and incredibly important news today. Before I go any further, I have many, many, many thanks. So first, Prime Minister, I will thank you. And through you, your colleagues at the Government of Canada, who have been a pleasure to work with, your support since the 2015 election on this project has been unwavering. And certainly that has been incredibly important to the people of Calgary, knowing that that commitment was there. A commitment which I might add is larger on a per capita basis than any commitment to any other transit project, any other city in the country. And that's meant a lot, and it has helped us leverage a lot of community support. So thank you for that. And Prime Minister, I also need to say something else, which is, as everyone knows, I wear purple every day because I try to be nonpartisan, to try and bring red and blue together, but that also means that I give credit where credit is due. And Prime Minister, today I want to thank you personally for your extraordinary leadership and for the extraordinary leadership of the Government of Canada during this pandemic. It was touch and go for a long time. We were concerned as a nation that we didn't have vaccine production capacity, for example. We were concerned because we had allowed perhaps our pandemic response to wither away, thinking that this wouldn't be important. And it's not by accident that this nation has come through this pandemic better than most. It is not by accident that here in Calgary, in Alberta, and in Canada, we have the highest vaccination rates in the world, despite not having any domestic vaccination production. That doesn't just happen. It takes extraordinary leadership from civil servants, it takes extraordinary leadership from public health professionals, and it takes extraordinary leadership from politicians. So, Prime Minister, thank you. It's been a rough 15 months, but we all look forward to a more optimistic future. Coming back to the Green Line. So Councilor Keating's story is more or less accurate. There may have been a couple of other supporting players in the story, just one or two, but I do want to thank some of them now. So I really want to say thank you to the members of Calgary City Council, many of whom are here with us today. It's not easy to support this, especially when you're being attacked for it from many different corners, especially when some of the partners may not be great partners at all times. But Council support for this has been unwavering. And it was a year ago that Council made the final decision on the Green Line in a 14-1 vote. And that is really extraordinary. So I see Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Davison, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Gondek, Councillor Carra. In particular, Councillor Carra, who has been a real fighter for this because both sides of the Green Line, the north and south, run through his ward. There's one other one. Oh yeah, the councillor for this area, Councillor George Chaho. So George, thank you for welcoming us to my neighbourhood today, and also thank you so much for all of your unwavering support for transit. One of the untold stories of this council, you know, especially even when this council was a bit new and people were saying, oh, it's very divisive, you know, people are arguing with one another and so on. One of the great untold stories of this council was we elected in 2017 a council full of advocates for transit. And that has not moved in one bit. And it really has been an extraordinary thing to have folks like Jyoti Gondek and George Chaho and Jeff Davison join us with folks like Councillor Farrell, who has been fighting hard for transit, well, I was going to say for 20 years, but way before you were first elected. And so thank you, Council. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to this. It would never have happened without that. I want to say thank you to the folks working on the Green Line, and in particular, our Board of Directors. You may not know this, Prime Minister, but we have it's a different structure for us, this project, because it's the largest public works project in our history by a multiple of 3. And so we have a Board of Directors made up of extraordinary private sector leaders who are leading us through this, and they are doing incredible work, and we have the Executive Chair, Dawn Fairburn, with us here today. So Dawn, through you to the Board, thank you for all of your leadership. It has been extraordinary. And since we're standing here in the Oliver Bowen Maintenance Facility in my neighbourhood, this would be a really good time for us to remember the value of public servants. Public servants and essential workers who have got us through this last 15 months. And I am so proud every day that I get to go to work with 15,000 colleagues who just do the work every single day. And in particular, I really want to thank everyone who works at Calgary Transit and who works in the City of Calgary's transportation infrastructure and transportation planning areas for the work they do every day in building a better city. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm sure Chapter 3, Councillor Keating, will be about all the community advocates. All of the citizens who really said, you know what? We need better transit. And we will support politicians who give us better transit, politicians who unite us and bring us together behind this. A special thank you to the LRT on the Green Group. And in particular, I don't know if Jeff is with us today, but Jeff Binks, oh, there you are, for his extraordinary leadership. Thank you. And you know, even though we get into politics sometimes on projects like this, and sometimes we're happy and sometimes we're less happy with our funding partners, it's important for us to remember that not only is this a historic funding commitment from the City of Calgary, 40% of the project, it is a historic funding commitment for the Government of Alberta and the Government of Canada. And the fact that they are willing to make those investments make a huge difference. So you've heard me say for many, many, many years that investments in transit are among the best investments any government can make. They're investments in climate. They're investments in the environment. They're investments in social mobility. They're investments in quality of life. And sometimes they are small but meaningful, and sometimes they are gigantic but meaningful. You know, Prime Minister, I'll tell you about our low-income transit pass here in Calgary, where you can, if you're a very low-income person, ride unlimited rides for as little as $5 a month. It was the first one in Canada. The demand for that has been 5 times what we anticipated. And that's not because people got super excited about it. It's because there were people in our community we didn't know about. People living in so much poverty who were so isolated. And being able to do that and letting them participate in their community has been an extraordinary thing. I was told a story recently of a woman who had a family of 5. And she arrived at the counter at City Hall the day after Council approved the sliding scale for the low-income transit pass. And that family could only afford to buy 1 bus pass for all 5 of them. So she showed up at the counter, as she did every month, and she took out 2 20s and a 5, $45, to pay for the 1 transit pass, half price as it was then. And she said, "I'd like a transit pass, please." And our colleague in the counter said, "That'll be $5, please." And she didn't know what to do. So she just stopped, and she took $20 and put it back in her purse and said, "I'll take 5, please." And you think about the impact that had on that family. Taking away the pressure and the worry of getting caught without riding a fare, or not being able to go to work, or not being able to go to school. That's what matters. And that's what we're doing right here. We're making investments in social mobility. We're giving people back time, getting them out of traffic congestion, building quality of life. We've been waiting for this for a long time. And it is so important that we are taking this step. So I won't be there, but there will be a new mayor there who will be talking to you in October about stage 2 and how we'll find the funding for that. There's a lot more to do, but we will continue to be there. We'll continue to advocate for citizens. We'll continue to do this work, but ultimately, every day, I won't be there when that first, as mayor, I won't be there as mayor when that first train rolls out of Shepherd Station. Oh, but I'm going to be there. And maybe they'll let me drive it one last time. Probably not. But you know what? Every day between now and then and every day thereafter, I'm going to be thinking about the incredible, humbling opportunity we were given to change people's lives. And that's why we're here today. Thank you all.
You're right, Your Worship. The story must unfold. So Chapter 3. Developing a plan and facilitating the roll ahead of the Green Line. It's very satisfying to be here today. However, 1 year later than expected, we could have had a sod turning rather than a confirmation of funding and approval of the plan that was finalized almost 2 years ago, identical to the plan approved by the Green Line Committee in June of 2020 and ratified by the City in July of 2020 by a vote of 14-1. With only Councillor Farkas voting against it. The Green Line Committee, myself as chair, Councillor Gondek as vice chair, Councillors Davison, Carraw, Sutherland, Farrell, and Mayor Nenshi have been steadfast in their formation of a final plan that as always was and will continue to be credible, functional, and deliver fantastic public transit for the next 100 years. We have to make sure that we also thank Jeff and many, many others like him who showed up on our doorsteps years ago with a duotang about notes about transit. And from that humble beginning, they were able to rally and bring together tens of community associations across the city, as well as hundreds of people to make sure that the Green Line would go forward. And he is just one example of the numerous individuals that came forward without question, and we have to make sure that all are there. We also have to look at past leaders, Mac Logan, Fabiola McIntyre, Michael Thompson, not past, still present, but we're doing well, and we appreciate them, and we want to make sure that they're done. The following chapters of this book will be written by others, and perhaps better than the authors. Of the first 3 chapters. Chapter 4, sod turning and construction starts. Chapter 5, secure funding and extensions for the Green Line beyond Phase 1. I think that's where you come in, right? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. Chapter 6. This is for Councillor Gondek, that I and her can continue our friendly debate. Green Line reaches Seaton. Chapter 7. Green Line reaches 160th Avenue.
I feel like those two chapters might be backwards.
Thank you very much, and we turn it over to the Prime Minister's team.
Thank you. We'll now go to questions from the media.
Hi, Alana Smith with the Canadian Press. My question is for the Prime Minister. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action number 45 called on the federal government to jointly develop with Indigenous peoples a royal proclamation of reconciliation to be issued by the Crown. This is the only call to action that specifically involves the Crown, which is now represented by Governor General Designate Mary Simon and Inuk Woman. What plans does your government have to implement this recommendation, and when can we expect to see it?
As you know, we have been working on all the calls to action. It is a roadmap to reconciliation that we must walk together. All different orders of government, institutions need to be part of it, and we will continue to. The appointment of Mary Simon yesterday, the designation of Mary Simon and her upcoming installation as Governor General will mark a new step on that path of reconciliation, but the work remains. And we will continue to work with all partners, including the Governor General, where necessary, as we move towards better reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, towards the partnership we know we need to have in this country.
Rick Bell, Calgary Sun. Long time no see.
It's great to see you in person, Rick.
Great to see you as well.
I've missed you these past 15 months.
Well, yes. I've been watching you on TV a lot.
So you've been saving one up for me.
I was thinking of doing FaceTime with you at some point, but you're here now in Calgary.
Even better.
Even better. This fall, whether you may be campaigning or not, Premier Jason Kenney will be campaigning on his quote-unquote fight for a fair deal, which he may have talked to you about. So he's going to be talking about equalization. He's going to be attacking Ottawa. And I would bet money that he will be attacking you and your government. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to react with that, to that sort of level of attack? And when the time comes for you to campaign nationally, will you be prepared to also perhaps take on some of the attitudes or policies or positions of Premier Kenney when you're out on the hustings nationally? So that's kind of a two-part question.
I think Canadians have noticed over the past 15 months what happens when people of different orders of government and indeed different political perspectives work together. We get things done. Over the past 15 months, I have had I think upwards of 25 or 30 First Ministers' conferences, phone calls in which we've talked about the issues that we're facing, primarily COVID, but also healthcare and borders and our economic opportunities and reconciliation. We've had opportunities to work tremendously alongside, and as Nahid pointed out, that's one of the things that has left us better off as a country than many other countries. That we all stepped up. Yes, the federal government made a promise to have people's backs, and we delivered 8 out of every $10 in COVID supports to Canadians. But the provinces played a really important role as well. We were happy to be there to support them. Now, that doesn't mean we're always going to agree on everything. Quite frankly, that would make your job very boring, Rick. But it does mean when we do have disagreements, we should be able to work through them. And that has always been my approach. To take a specific example, the concerns that Premier Kenney has highlighted on equalization, he was part of the very government that negotiated and put in place the actual equalization formula that is there now. When came time for renewal, we just rolled over the very things that he had negotiated as part of Stephen Harper's cabinet. So the fact that he's now railing against it means he can probably explain better what it is that he disagrees with his younger self on. But I'm always going to be there to listen. I'm always going to be there to engage and stay focused on Canadians. Whether you live in Calgary or anywhere in Alberta or anywhere across the country, our jobs as different orders of government is to serve you. We all serve the same people. And there's going to be different perspectives on how to do it. And yes, sometimes elbows will come up. Canadians expect that. But they also expect there be a level of shared commitment to do what's right for Canadians and to work together to get that done. That'll always be my choice. That'll always be my preference. But I will never hesitate to stand up for the things I believe in and the things I know Canadians need, whether it's cleaner air and fighting climate change, whether it's good jobs and an end to intolerance and discrimination like we've seen far too often across the country these past months, whether it's anti-Asian racism, anti-Islamic racism, Islamophobia. There's lots we need to work on together, and there's lots we agree on. But we will no doubt keep it interesting by pointing out a few of the things we disagree on too from time to time. Our friends outside certainly expect that. Merci.
Mr. Prime Minister, Premier Jason Kenney and some other members of the Alberta government have demanded that you respect the choice of voters in the Senate election and that you only appoint senators that are chosen in that October ballot. Will you accept that demand, or will you go and appoint senators as you choose, as has been tradition?
Actually, we transformed the way people are appointed to the Senate. After many years of different governments, including the previous Conservative government, trying to make changes to the way the Senate works and being prevented to by the Supreme Court, we actually moved forward on an independent, nonpartisan, merit-based system where Canadians who have served their communities of all different backgrounds right across the country can apply online, can apply through our open process where their candidacies will be evaluated by a group of independent panelists who will make recommendations on who should go to the Senate. So there is an open process that I encourage anyone who wants to and feels that they have things to offer in the Senate to step up and apply to.
Prime Minister Adam McVicker with Global News here in Calgary. My question is on the Green Line. Could this happen sooner if it wasn't for the province's actions on this project? And this is a project funded by 3 levels of government. I see 2 levels of government here. Where is the province in this announcement as well?
I think I will turn to Naheed to complete this. I think that's probably a question better put to Premier Kenney. I know that, and I was talking about this with Naheed earlier, that we were together making a very similar announcement to this a number of years ago. As Naheed pointed out, from the moment we got elected in 2015, we've stepped up on this extraordinarily important investment for Calgarians, and we've been there steady every step of the way. And if there are questions on the province's involvement, those are probably best asked of the province. But Naheed, if you want to add something.
Thanks, Prime Minister. So the answer to your question, Adam, is very straightforward. Yes, this could have been a year ago. It certainly could have been last fall. And I think that the Government of Canada has always been very clear that they trust the local experts here at the City of Calgary and all of the best engineers in the world that we brought together to get it right, and that they are not going to dabble into the little details. As you recall, it was a year ago that the City Council passed the final alignment on a 14-1 vote. And the Government of Alberta, rightly so, said, listen, this is $1.5 billion. We got to do some due diligence. Now, in my career, in the private sector, that term due diligence means you're about to make a deal. And you got to spend a couple weeks looking at the numbers and make sure everything's good to go. So I certainly thought a month, maybe 6 weeks over the summer break, we'd complete that due diligence and move forward. What we had was a year of delay, in a year of extraordinary cost increases throughout construction in general. And in the end, nothing changed. They agreed with the technical assessment. They agreed with the alignment. The only thing that changed was we went to 2 procurements rather than 3. We could have done that so long ago. But you know what? Today I'm going to be gracious after all that. And basically say, I was surprised to see the announcement from the province moments ago, but I am thrilled to see it. That means the province has approved the project. It means the money is forthcoming. It means the federal government is now in a place where they can too approve the business case. I'm sure I heard the Prime Minister say construction will start this fall. So this is great. So rather than mull over what could have been, let's just be thrilled with what is. And the fact that we got very, very good commitment from the provincial government today that we are, in fact, moving forward. Chris, I assume you want him.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks. Hi, Prime Minister. Chris Fark with the Calgary Herald. I understand pipelines was expected to come up in your discussions with the Premier this morning. I'm wondering, can you tell us what is the state of discussions with the U.S. Biden administration on the Line 5 dispute and attempts to resolve the dispute between Enbridge and Michigan? And maybe more specifically, if you can't resolve the dispute, would you look at using the binding arbitration provisions within the 1977 Transit Pipeline Treaty to resolve it?
Thank you. Yes, we did talk about pipelines, the Premier and I. We mostly focused on TMX, on the fact that it's moving forward well, and again, was pleased that the federal government stepped up and ensured that the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion was able to move forward. But the concern that we all share about Line 5 is real. It is right now in a process of arbitration between the company and the state of Michigan. We are engaging not just with partners there, but through our embassy in Washington with the White House. We're very closely engaged on this. We will continue to. We are following very closely. We will continue to intervene and stand up as necessary. We are focused on making sure that things don't get disrupted, and we will continue to do that work. We've not taken any possibilities off the table, but we are going to do what is necessary at every step to ensure that we continue to have the energy security between our two countries that has not just been something that is an advantage, but something that we absolutely rely on in the interconnectedness between our economies.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau, Thomas Laberge pour Radio-Canada. Bon, on le sait, il va y avoir des élections prochainement. Lors de la dernière élection, votre parti a été complètement balayé ici en Alberta. Est-ce que vous pensez vraiment que vous pouvez faire des gains ici en Alberta lors de la prochaine élection?
D'abord, ma priorité continue d'être là pour livrer pour les Canadiens. On a été là pour les gens à travers la pandémie. On est là aujourd'hui pour des annonces importantes pour le transport collectif. On va continuer d'être là pour rebâtir en mieux l'économie ici et à travers le pays. Je cherche toujours à avoir plus de voix fortes de communautés à travers le pays pour représenter leur communauté, représenter leurs préoccupations à Ottawa. C'est comme ça que ça devrait fonctionner. On a vu depuis trop longtemps des gens qui étaient la voix d'Ottawa dans leur communauté. En 2015, on a changé ça avec des voix fortes pour leur communauté à Ottawa. Je parlais tantôt de la ligne Trans Mountain. Elle n'aurait probablement pas été sauvée si on n'avait pas eu Amarjeet Sohi autour de la table du cabinet à amener les arguments pour les Albertains, pour l'intérêt économique de cette province et de ce pays. On a fait ce choix parce qu'on avait des voix fortes de partout au pays. Et pour moi, de continuer à chercher quand viendront éventuellement le temps des élections, on va être là pour présenter des voix fortes pour leur communauté, pour que les gens puissent se faire entendre à Ottawa.
Jordan Cannigan, CTV News. Thanks for taking my question. Prime Minister, are you on the campaign trail?
I think as Nahid pointed out, this announcement should have been made a year ago, and we would have been happy to make it then. Happy to make it now. Very happy to be finally announcing that we are going to be putting shovels in the ground this fall on this Green Line, which is something that an awful lot of people have been fighting for a long time, and that I'm deeply, deeply grateful to them for. The past year and a half has been tough on everyone. We've been focused on COVID. We've been focused on people's health, on keeping Canadians safe. And that's what we've been doing, not just as a federal government, but all of us together. But at the same time, we've been putting in place things that we're able to now deliver as we start reopening, as we start to build back better. On Monday, I was in Sault Ste. Marie announcing an investment that's going to transform coal-fired steel plant into an electric-based steel plant, which is going to take a number of megatons of carbon out of the atmosphere. Yesterday, I was able to announce that we're moving forward on a historic announcement for child and family services in Cowessess First Nation, so that kids in care in Indigenous communities get to stay in their Indigenous communities, don't get taken from their language, from their culture. These are important things that we've been working on in many cases for years. The work of government is to be there to serve people, and that's exactly what I'm going to continue to do today, tomorrow, and as long as Canadians will have me.
Prime Minister, it's Scott Dibble from CBC here in Calgary. Can you comment in both languages on the events of the last 24 hours in Haiti, and does the Government of Canada recognize the new leadership? Thank you.
Tout d'abord, laissez-moi exprimer mon horreur personnelle à l'assassinat du président Jovenel Moïse. C'est quelque chose, une violence qu'on ne veut jamais voir nulle part, et nous sommes extrêmement préoccupés par cet acte inacceptable, et nous allons continuer d'être là pour le peuple haïtien qui passe, on va se le dire, des années très difficiles, une situation politique qui est difficile depuis longtemps, mais le Canada a longtemps été ami à Haïti et surtout aux Haïtiens, et on va continuer de l'être même pendant ces moments difficiles, surtout pendant ces moments difficiles. I want to first express my utmost condemnation and horror at the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in Haiti. It is absolutely unacceptable and not something anyone wants to see anywhere in the world. Canada has been and will continue to be a close friend to the Haitian people, there to support, there to help, there as a partner. They've had a number of difficult years, including politically. Canada has continued to be there for them, and we will continue into the coming difficult months to stand with the people of Haiti and move towards greater stability and greater opportunity for everyone.
Kelly Kreiderman, Globe and Mail. Prime Minister, you said you're not in campaign mode, but we have seen a number of announcements. We've seen you critical of Jason Kenney's policies today. Should Canadians be, we've seen case counts low for COVID right now. Should Canadians be expecting an election this summer and preparing for an election this summer?
I think Canadians should be and can be expecting that their elected leaders work hard for them every single day. The announcement we're making today, the announcements I've made earlier in the week, the work we continue to do to deliver for Canadians as we come out of this pandemic is something we've been talking about and working on for a long time. People ask me, if the announcement yesterday on child and family services being given to, control over child and family services being given back to the community of Cowessess First Nation in Saskatchewan was either a campaign commitment or an election promise or a response to the terrible discoveries in Cowessess of a few weeks ago. That's actually something we've been working on for years. Co-developing Bill 92, Child and Family Services legislation, recognizing that Indigenous kids represent a far too large proportion of kids in care across this country, and that being in foster care usually means, for Indigenous kids, removing them from their language, from their culture. And that's what we put an end to in Cowessess with that announcement yesterday. These are things like the Green Line that are going to make a real, tangible difference in people's lives, right, particularly at this moment as we're reopening our economies. And I'm going to continue to focus on shortening people's commutes, on protecting their kids, on fighting climate change and creating good jobs. These are the things we were elected to do in 2019. These are the things we were elected to do in 2015. And there's still a lot more to do. We're going to keep working on it.
That concludes all the time we have for today's press conference.
Merci tout le monde.